So there are so many smart home products coming out all the time, even for Apple's HomeKit, that there's just no way my one channel could keep up with them all. And so I generally try and focus on highlighting companies and products that I like on this channel and pointing you in that direction. And so there are plenty of other companies that I don't talk about, and it might be because I don't like them or I don't really like their products. And today we're gonna talk about a company I haven't talked about at all, and that's SwitchBot. My name's Eric Welander. Welcome to my channel all about Apple smart home tech. Now, before we get into the details about SwitchBot, let's take a minute to talk about today's sponsor, a service I love called Shortform. Just like it's helpful to know what to do before setting up your Matter devices, what should you do before picking up your next book? Your attention is valuable, and there's nothing more annoying than getting a book and realizing it's not what you wanted. Or worse, that it's just expanding fluff on some ideas that could be captured in less words. This is where I find Shortform super helpful. For the cost of about one book a month, they provide thousands of summaries in a wide variety of categories that explore the key ideas in books. This can be a great way to get the life-changing ideas out of a book without needing to spend the time reading it all, or to realize that you found a book that you really love and you want to spend the time reading through. You can also listen to short-form content. I used this while commuting to some meetings for work to find out which books I wanted to read on my vacation. I recently read Iger's Ride of a Lifetime, and the short-form summary does a great job talking about the stories Iger tells in the book, and I knew it would be just what I wanted. On the other hand, The Undoing Project by Michael Lewis sounds like topics I wouldn't find as interesting as I initially thought. Shortform also includes articles tying together information from different books, exploring interesting ideas like geothermal energy. To try Shortform for yourself, visit the link in the description at shortform.com/Welander to get a free trial and 20% off an annual membership. Thanks again so much to Shortform for sponsoring this video and supporting my channel. Now, SwitchBot really made their name by making these little motorized arms that you could stick to any kind of, let's say, appliance or switch on your wall, and then when you wanted to automate it, that little arm would then move and press down the button or the switch, therefore sort of making the operation smart because you could automate that through other means to then press that button. And when I first saw this, I thought of it as just like a Rube Goldberg machine. I don't know if you've ever seen those, but there's a reason they're a spectacle, and that's because you're amazed it even works just once. And you don't want your smart home tech to be that kind of a spectacle. The whole concept of a SwitchBot felt a little bit like a hack to me. On top of that, they didn't have a way to natively integrate with Apple's HomeKit or the Apple Home app. You had to use shortcuts as a means to control SwitchBot accessories. Now, that's aside from maybe some backdoor solutions with something like Homebridge, but that's a topic for another day. But SwitchBot recently introduced their new Matter Hub, which exposes SwitchBot accessories to Matter and then in turn Apple HomeKit. And well, it's called a hub. Technically in the HomeKit world, it's a bridge, but who cares about that detail anyways? I mean, I do, but you get the idea. So I asked SwitchBot to send me one of their new Matter Hubs along with a blind tilt control. And let me just tell you my conclusion up front, which is that I've actually learned to love certain things about this. And I think there are a few specific cases where I think SwitchBot and the blind tilt control can work really well. But that doesn't mean I don't have any complaints about the product. Now, the Matter Hub, or Bridge, comes packed with all kinds of extra features. It has a temperature and humidity sensor and a light level sensor, and it actually has 2 programmable button modes to trigger on or off scenes that you can specify in the app. And in typical SwitchBot fashion, like their mini hub, you can use it as an IR blaster, which means that it can learn commands from an infrared remote, like let's say your TV remote or a fan remote, and then you can rebroadcast those infrared commands to those devices from the SwitchBot Hub, therefore making those kind of smart and automatable too. And I think because of these added features, SwitchBot thinks you might want more than one of these hubs around your home, so they sell them in 1, 2, and 4 packs, and actually when I asked for a hub, they sent me 2. Now, well, these extra features might be handy for some people. I just want my bridges to be very simple little boxes that I just stick in the closet, and it just does bridging from that smart home company's accessories into the rest of my smart home. And of course, SwitchBot does have a mini hub that's more along these lines, but it doesn't work with Matter. So to get their Matter hub as just something you stick in your closet, $70 is pretty expensive. But so far, after sticking the bridge in my closet, it's been very reliable. Now, moving on to the blind tilt control, maybe you've seen smart blinds or shades and longed for those as an option, but whether you rent or just don't really have the money to spend on new smart blinds or shades, it's just something that's not an option for you. But if you have blinds that tilt back and forth with one of those rods that you turn, well, then you're in luck, because SwitchBot's blind tilt can automatically turn that rod for you. So the setup of this product is pretty straightforward, but it has a lot of steps and details to follow to make sure you get right, because you want to place this control in just the right place on your blind. And SwitchBot gives you some nice patterns and details to make it as straightforward as possible. Just be prepared for a few steps and keeping your brain turned on, paying attention to details as you're setting it up. Now, there's a battery on board this control, but you can also charge it with USB-C and actually run continuous power to it, so you don't need to worry about charging it. And on top of that, it comes with a solar panel that you can use to power it, because if you're putting this in a window, chances are that window does get sunlight at least part of the day. So you can put the solar panel with the little sticky pad it comes with right on your window. And it's a pretty small solar panel, so it's not gonna take up like visibility. Even on a smaller window, I don't think you're gonna notice it too much. Now, I installed this on a window that's actually in my basement on a window well. It's the only blind I have in my house that actually can work with this kind of system. And it doesn't really seem to give me enough light level to really do much to charge the battery. So we'll see over time how much I maybe have to charge the controller with other means, but that's more my problem than it is SwitchBot. And we'll get more into the details of what it says in the app about that in just a second. I do love the way SwitchBot has figured out to sort of tuck the cable above the controller and then over to the solar panel. The cable management here is really nice, and they even supply a cable tie in the box to make sure that you can keep everything neat and tidy. So upstairs in my bedroom, I have Lutron Serena shades, which are probably the top of the line you can get. So what's the difference between smart roller shades that can cost thousands of dollars versus a $70 control you can put on your existing blind? And it really comes down to two things. The first is, of course, with smart blinds, a lot of the smarts is hidden in the actual blind itself. So you don't really notice that they're smart blinds until you see them go up and down on their own. Whereas, of course, with SwitchBot, there's no getting around that. It's just gonna be this thing you put on your blind, and SwitchBot has made it, as I think, as small as it possibly could be, and sort of as unobtrusive as it could be, especially if you have white colored blinds, but you're still gonna see that there's this extra thing hanging there. On top of that, when you try and open or close the blinds, you're gonna hear a motor sound, and the motor definitely sounds like a cheap motor on the SwitchBot. So it kind of ruins a little bit of the ambiance of, oh, hey honey, let me close the shades here, and then doesn't sound quite as nice as, let's say, a more premium smart blind. But then again, you're also not paying the price for those premium smart blinds. So just know that that's gonna be part of your experience. So one of the other big problems I had with SwitchBot in setting up the Matter Hub and trying this out is that their app seems to hide a lot of functionality that I was really trying to get to. For example, once you've set up your SwitchBot Hub with Matter, they make it hard to add additional SwitchBot accessories to Matter. When I'm adding an accessory and I already have a Matter Hub, why don't you just automatically add it to Matter, or at least give me a giant button somewhere to say, add this to Matter? You have to go into the SwitchBot Hub settings by the Matter code and then find an option to add various accessories you have to Matter. Otherwise, you'll look in the Home app and see, why isn't my blind there that I just set up? Another thing is, I'm based in the US, where I tend to prefer Fahrenheit for my temperature instead of Celsius. And in setting up the Matter Hub, there was no option that I saw to change from Celsius to Fahrenheit. And it should be able to tell with iOS by looking at my locale what my preferred temperature unit is. And while you're in the setup process, why not just automatically pick that up and set the device accordingly? Then when I did actually find that under my profile, I can change the temperature from Celsius to Fahrenheit, it doesn't automatically change it on my hub. I went back to the hub page in the SwitchBot app, and it gives you this giant banner saying that the temperature units are not in sync between your profile preference and the SwitchBot hub. And so you need to sync them, one additional step there that shouldn't even be a step in the first place. The last thing is that I wanted to check in on how my battery was or was not charging with my solar panel. And you can go in and see a graph of the light levels you're getting over time on the solar panel, which is a helpful idea. So then let's say if you're checking at night, you can know if during the daytime or over the past few days, are you getting enough light to the solar panel to keep the device charged? And then they just describe the light level in the graph on numbers 1 through 10 and just label it light level. So I have no idea how much brightness it is or what the recommended level of brightness is there to then understand, okay, I'm getting enough light level that I should be able to completely charge the thing with solar power, or maybe I'm getting enough that it's going to be able to offset some of the decline, but I'll still need to charge it periodically. Like, I just need some practical recommendation from the app of, your light level is this, therefore you should do this. So I mentioned at the front of the video that I do think there's some cases where SwitchBot makes a lot of sense. If you want to make some appliances or other things smart, maybe a SwitchBot itself that actually hits the button could be an interesting way to do that. Also, if you're trying to do things like add smart blinds or smart curtains, SwitchBot has controls to do both of those things. And it's gonna be a lot cheaper than the alternative, and maybe the only option compared to the alternative if you're, let's say, renting and can't really change out the blinds or curtains. One of the biggest energy costs you probably have is heating and cooling your home, and blocking out or letting in the sunlight can make a big difference with that. Also, if you leave your home, having your blinds open during the day and close at night can make it look a lot more like you're at home. Now, of course, another alternative out there are something like Eve's Smart Roller Conversion Kit, which you can use for roller shades to make them smart. But again, if you're in the market to make your blinds smart and you just don't want to spend the money on really smart blinds, I think that the SwitchBot options for both blinds as well as curtains could bring you a lot of functionality, especially now that they have official support for Matter, which means that then they can work well in HomeKit. I have loved being able to tell my HomePods to open or close these blinds, and it just happens. That's such a nice benefit. So there's an affiliate link in the description to support the channel and check out some of these SwitchBot products, as well as a link to show your support for today's sponsor, Shortform. Subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.